Hello, all. We are back. It's been too long, Al. Way too long. Welcome
I
back.
know it's my fault, man. I just stuff comes up and I miss these chats. If no one else does, I miss these kind of talking. Not always talking shite, sometimes talking sense, but mostly shite.
No, we're talking shit.
Yeah,
And
mostly, yeah.
and yeah. So should have probably said, yeah, Scotch in the balcony. Welcome to our late night chats. And Come it's not just you; it's me as well. Where it's been a yeah. Well, I mean, I haven't been well either, to be honest. Okay.
Well, as you know, I'm currently laid up in bed with a twisted knee. So, um, hey, all you lovers out there, come on, song.
Yeah. I I gotta be honest,
Funny
Al.
song.
None of us are believing the gym. But no,
No,
but seriously,
it was, you know what it was? I hurt my knee. I did genuinely because I started going back to the gym and I hurt my knee, but it wasn't that bad. And I have a pergola that I've been putting off, but it's an iron pergola. Then it's in a really long box, right? So this guy is supposed to be coming out this weekend, but I had to cancel it because I can't help him with it tomorrow because my leg is fucked and my back. And basically, I was trying to push the thing out the garden and went to lift it up to put it up like lengthwise against the wall, and I went down off a step and twisted both the back and the knee. So it's fun and games, but I have a sciatic nerve issue anyway. So whenever anything goes wrong, it's just agony. But don't worry about me. I'm okay. I'll survive. But yeah, so that's why I was kind of I didn't want to miss out on this chat. We were
yeah,
talking about something just before we went on air, and I started recording. I should say, went on air. It's very professional. Um, and I think it's interesting because I know we're going to talk about AI and these advances. What's going on? Is it good? Is it bad? But we were talking about just for anyone for because it brings back good memories for me. Just the old like when you think how much things have changed. The old video stores. So we had Movie Master and Luke and Clinton's. You had Chartbusters and Extravision. And I was saying to Hello that there was Clinton's was the first one. So that was like we all had them in our towns. That family owned video shop when they first came out. You could rent a video recorder, you could rent the videos, but they used to have them in that really old school early videotape case where it would look like it was plastic, but it would look if you had it on a shelf, it might from a distance look like one of those leather bound kind of books that you would have. The reason I'm saying it was, I just remembered when we were talking about it was I was obviously a kid. I was like, 6 or 7 or even when it opened. And people used to talk about blue movies in there. So, the Lovers guy, whatever, softcore
sorry,
porn. But I
sorry, Al.
genuinely
For
thought
for those younger people, can you please explain what a blue movie is, just in case?
blue movie is what you watch between the ages of around 13 and 17, and your parents don't know about it. And you have happy tissues, not sad tissues. But no, I remember, I was, it just reminded me that, like, I remember, I think it was either my brother or my dad was like, what, don't be saying that. Because they used to have two colors of video cases. They just had two colors, and one was red and one was blue. So I used to be saying to people, "Oh, you're getting a blue movie." I presume the blue movie was just one that came in the blue case. And I can't remember if it was my brother or my dad yanking me going, "Don't be fucking." So I was like, "Oh, you getting a blue movie?" People mortified walking out of the store, although they did apparently sell them behind the counter. But yeah. So anyway, that was just what I thought. And then I was just thinking about how far. Like I was listening to. Sorry, I'm going off on a bit of a monologue here, but I was listening. It's probably the painkillers actually. But I was listening to a podcast. I'll get the name of it, and it was Mo Goddard. I hopefully didn't pronounce his name right. Who worked at Google X. So he's kind of one of the fathers, so to speak, of AI at Google. And he was talking. I mean, he may be a bit alarmist. I think in what he's saying. He thinks the world is going to irrevocably change in the next couple of years. It'll be unrecognizable. He was kind of saying that this, AI by 20. He was basically saying that something like by 2040, AI could be a billion times smarter than us. So there's all this kind of stuff that's going on, and it just made me think of just how quaint our upbringings are going to feel. But I guess every generation feels that, right? That things were a little bit simpler in our time, etc., etc. But I just thought it was an interesting segue into talking about, this kind of AI thing is, you're just hearing it everywhere. And I'm in two minds, and I'll let you come in a second, because I want to. I'm on the one side. I kind of I know it's not the same thing, and I know it will be much more far-reaching, right? But it kind of feels like the Millennium Bug panic a little bit on one side. But then on the other, when I start talking to people who really know what they're talking about, like in my job and stuff about it, like what this will be able to do, like both good and bad, it does sound like the world is going to change very, very quickly. And I'm worried about that because we're not set up, for example, to have 300 million people who don't work anymore because things are completely under AI or so many jobs are done by AI. So I don't know how you feel about it. I'm kind of torn. Like I do think you get to a point with technology where it's counterproductive. Like how simple and easy do we want lives to be? In terms of our own daily lives. I'm not saying we shouldn't get rid of famine and poverty and all that kind of stuff, and they're laudable aims. But the day to day stuff, how much easier do we want our lives to be? Anyway, I'll stop talking now.
Yeah. I'm gonna put it very simply, right? We're fucked. There you go. That's it.
Good night, everybody.
No, yeah.
Next week it's gonna be
See
two
you later.
chat
Yeah.
GTPs. Next week
No,
it's
no.
two chat GTPs talking to each other.
And
They might
and,
get more viewers.
I'm gonna tell you why, right? Because I let you go on about the video shop, right? So,
Oh, thank you.
and you were spot on, right? And then you went on to our childhoods, and that's come here, and you're spot on. And you look at how quickly things have just changed continuously. Okay, as we were growing up, we're in our mid 40s. I'm going to pretend I'm in my mid 40s, and and you look at how things have changed in, let's say, since we were okay, since I was a teenager. So I got into movies when I was 12. I saw Escape from New York, just changed my life. And it took me ages to convince the man in the video shop to give it to me. All right, and I mean like months. And that okay, and so I've been in love with movies forever. And I look at what we have now and what my kids have to look at, and I just go, it's not the same, and it's not. And things have changed so much, and you can blame globalization, and there's a whole thing about that. But we live in a world now where the
Your
technology that we have now, we can't fucking control. We can't. We don't know what to do with it. And I've tweeted a good few times. I tweeted the other day again. I we still don't talk about free porn and the effect that that's having, especially our young men, but men in general. And now we have OnlyFans basically being promoted as a fucking career choice for women. Like we're we're talking. This is fucking hooking basically, and we don't talk about that. And we definitely live in a society now where you can see in Western society anyway that we are willing to give up the good for the cheap. Quality, um, you know that thing about any service that you offer. Well, there's three things you can, and you can't have all three. You can either have quality, two of three. You can out of quality, time, or
yeah
turnaround time, or cost. So it would appear as a society, we all prefer Amazon turnaround times and Walmart cheapy prices. Quality, we don't give a fuck about. And we don't, except for those that are fucking seriously rich because they can afford it. And
yeah
that's where all businesses and that's where everything's going. You look at social media, you look at YouTube, you just look at tech. It's just quick, quick, cheap, cheap, cheap. Everything, everything breaks, everything dies, and we'll do electric cars as well. Because wait till I have a fucking rant
yeah
about that. And I own an electric car, and I already know, you know, that's not going to last me as long as I want. So when you look at how things are going and how things are being pushed, Just from a business point of view now. I'm not even talking about WEF. I'm not talking about governments being in control and all that shit. Just purely from a business point of view. Businesses want to sell cheaper, quicker, and generally, as a population, we're willing to accept it because enough of the population, the consumers, accept it. They accept it. Well, that's the way it is, and then they don't
Yeah.
realize that it's getting less and less value. Now, that's with technology. You see how that's been pushed over the last couple of years. You look at where your services. I work in the insurance industry. God love you if you have to ring an insurance company. Okay, I've changed my broadband. To cancel the broadband I have, that took me half a day. Okay, and I'm trying to change over my phones. I I'm at it a week now, and I'm having trouble because they won't give me what I need. Certain things often, and but the service is getting worse and worse and worse. And what they've told me, my phone company has told me, no, no, sorry, we don't do that anymore. And I'm going, hold on a second. I need you to send me 2 years worth of my invoices. No, we can't do that. We don't do that anymore unless you were a business. And this is the crux of it because I need those invoices.
Yeah.
And I've just been told, no, don't care. And we see this. Just things are getting cheaper. Just they don't care. Don't care.
So there's a couple of points to,
Hold
I
on.
don't disagree
So
with
let me
you.
get to my point. So my
Sorry, go
point
on,
is
go on.
this, right? This is being done without AI. So these large corporate companies are after the almighty dollar, and this is without AI. This is with having to pay people to do shit. Now, we've seen it with the supermarkets where I thought the funniest fucking thing I've seen in weeks is this whole tipping thing where the self service machine is asking you for a tip. Now, in my head, I thought that was funny as fuck. I thought that'd be like something out of a futuristic fucking science fiction movie where they go in and get their food and the robot is asking for a tip. This is where we are. And AI hasn't even
Yeah.
started doing anything yet. And it's here. It's so I remember a guy dealing with a guy up Northern Ireland that makes trailers. I was doing a job with him. Really great guy. Tell me a story, but and he remembers the old Jewish saying, "I wish my enemy many employees." Right? We all know that the biggest pain in the hole are people for any company. They cost more. They're a pain in the ass. And younger people that don't get me started, not all of them, obviously.
Oh,
So
yeah.
so they will look for any opportunity to
Oh,
replace this with AI. Now, the
so,
argument is
yeah.
AI is not as good as a person. And my argument is the consumer doesn't give a fuck, does
Well,
not
Hannah,
care.
the thing is, AI is very quickly in a lot of areas will become better. I think it will take
Oh yeah.
longer. I think it will take maybe a few more years, but they'll get there with a lot of different jobs. The
Oh,
thing is this, man.
without a
I,
doubt.
I look at I look
But
at this
but, but
stuff,
can I
man.
just what can I just say? It'll be
Yeah,
it'll
right.
be it'll be two things, right? It'll be AI getting better, but what they'll also do is lower the quality again because they're going to say we're going to give it to this cheaper. It's not going to be as good because I've noticed that a lot. Forget about the quality of what journalists and editorials and shit online that are supposed to be news are saying. Just purely from a grammar point of view. Did you have Brother Byrne in school for English, Chad?
No, thank
Probably had him
God.
for maths. I had him for English for 5 years. I still remember everything that man taught me about grammar and everything else.
Yeah.
And I didn't do journalism or anything like that. And I'm reading shit and I'm going, because I do write reports for engineers reports for a living. And I'm going, and this has been going on for years. So they're not going to care because it's going to be quick and it's going to be cheap. And that's what the majority of the consumer. And that goes back to what you were saying, Al. How easy do people want their lives? Most of us, a lot of us realize that if it's too easy, it's bad.
So
but the majority don't give a shit,
Yeah, but we
and
need to
that's what.
just step out with a wider lens for a second,
So what do we do
right?
about it?
Well, first of all, it's important for what I've come to understand over the years is that most of the systems that we have in the world, from political to economic to everything, there isn't really. And I understand there's big corporations, right, that have monopolies on various different things. But I think the system is there's really no one at the helm. It's it's one thing chasing another. So, for example, a business will always look to create efficiencies, including job cuts where they can automate stuff or remove the need for jobs, right?
Yeah,
And they'll also come up with new services that they know people will like. And then the people want those services and they want them as cheap as possible. And it's just this vicious circle that goes around and around and around. And there's really no one in control of it. And that's the worry here. Because with what they're talking about, AI is going to be able to do within a short period of time, right? You really need governments globally coming together to say, well, hold on, I don't want 20% unemployment in 3 years in my country. You don't want it in yours. You don't want it. And to really clamp down. I mean, Elon Musk is one of the people. Mo got out another godfather of AI or father of AI, as they call him at Google. And they're saying this needs to be halted for now. Until we understand what's really going to happen, we need to be very careful here. And the thing is with companies will take it on. If it means they can use it and have efficiencies, then they'll take it on. The problem that I see is if it's true what they're saying, then a couple of 100 million jobs are going to be eliminated around the world in the next few years. And those companies still need enough people earning to consume the goods that they create. Otherwise, like, what's the point of it? Eventually, everything just runs itself into the ground. And an interesting aside here, I read an article, I think it was in the Atlantic a few months ago, and it was this guy who's like this company that do it's like doomsday prepping. So they do underground bunkers and all that kind of shit, right up to really expensive stuff. And he said he's had like the likes of hedge fund owners, billionaires, come to him and say, look, if and when like civilization collapses, right? Then what are we going to do here? Like I want to be safe. And what they've started to realize is you can have the bunker all you want, but you need armed guards to man your underground bunker or your place in the mountains or whatever it is. And then the thing that they realize now is what's to stop those people with the guns turning those guns on you?
yeah.
So my worry, and again, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm worried about if this happens as quickly as Mo God I was, and I hope I'm getting his name right. I apologize for not, but as quickly as he was saying it's going to happen. I mean, it's a real like you're talking about short term collapse potentially in in the global economy for one, and it's not really good.
No, it's not. But I listen. I'm an idiot, right? And if I'm an idiot and I can see it, and I can see what's happening in society and where it's going, and as you said, you're right. There's no one at the helm. But the problem is you can't put someone at the helm because of technology. We're all just one big country now, right? Because of globalization.
Yeah,
And if you, because the way I always put it, like whether you're talking about immigration and borders and society or whatever, I always try and bring it down to, well, how do you run your house? Right? Because I always think that's how things should be looked at. How are you running your house? Now, if you take each country as being a house on an estate, you can run your house all you want. But if there's other houses in your estate causing trouble, there's not really that much you can do. And definitely not if you live in a little house like we do. Um, and obviously I'm in a littler house than you, but we're still little houses. Because when you look at America, and America I think is on its way to collapse.
yeah,
Um, and but then you look at what's happening with Russia, and then you look at China, of course, and then the Middle East, and you're just and all these other things. And So it's not possible to put anybody at the helm. Like the UN's a fucking joke. I tell everyone, you just go look at the committees and look who's on the human rights committees and all that. And if you just 60 seconds, just think about the names that are on that. And you'll just go, it's a joke. So there's nobody. So if there's no one at the helm and there's no one agreeing with everybody, that technically means we're sort of at war. Okay. We're not at war at the moment in relation to what we know used to know as war because of globalization. We're all
Yeah.
just one country now. So I think we need to look at it like that. And it's sort of, I don't know whether to say it's like a civil war nearly, where you have the likes of China. And come here, we can chuck the corporations in there, Middle East. And I'm going to say something that where I don't know a lot about is I in Western society anyway, I don't see a lot of news about what's going on in South America and Africa. There has to be shit going on there, apart from obviously immigration is
No,
all we hear and the scam that comes with that. Some of it's genuine, some of it's not. But but like I said, there's so what do we do? How like what do we do as individuals? What do we do as what should Ireland be doing? What should the UK be doing? Because we're not players. We're not players in the world. You know, you look at
no, and the problem.
anything our government fucking says, listen, they're basically Brussels has their hand up their arse anyway, up the arse of her.
But the
I
problem
realize what I'm
is
saying, up the arse of our Taoiseach, who happens to be gay.
the
So
problem.
I
The
didn't mean anything by
problem. The
that.
problem.
But
No,
listen,
the problem is more.
and don't get me
I
started on the
think
fucking Green Party wankers.
taking it to the wider lens, if the UK, for example, brings in draconian legislation around artificial intelligence, other countries will just be very open to it, and that's where companies will flow towards.
Yeah,
So
it
I
doesn't
just,
matter. Yeah.
no, I think I'm still torn between, I know some people who've looked at this and say, oh my God, it's going to be like, they were talking like right now, the best of AI around the world is about 10 times as intelligent as Einstein. But very quickly, it's going to be exponentially more and more intelligent. And I don't fully understand it all because even when Mo Goddard was talking about it, like he was saying, AI is like a sentient being now, and we have to treat it like that. And it's just so weird to wrap your head around. When still like the likes of Chat GPT and stuff,
Right.
it still gets stuff wrong. And I don't, but again, I don't
Okay.
know.
Can I can I can
I
I
don't know what the answer is, man.
can I ask you a question? Right. So it gets stuff wrong, right? Who doesn't?
No, but this is meant to be something, man, that can do the job of, 10 people reading documents, analyzing things, whether that's financial
And
analysis or something
and it
else.
w- and it
And
will.
no, it is already. Like
Yeah.
I tested out a couple of things on it, and it got and complex analysis, and it got it spot on. So it's here. We got to learn to use it, but there's going to have to be legislation globally that says, any company that's utilizing it, a certain percentage of your employees have to remain human beings. Now, the truth, like they're
Al,
saying they're
please,
going to.
They'll just outsource it. They will literally just go, no.
But Hanno, if the countries will collapse, if you imagine Ireland now with 15% unemployment because all the tech jobs have gone to AI, the economy will collapse. Now
And
the
that's what's
banks
going.
will
Yeah,
collapse.
and that's what's going to
Like,
happen.
but again, there's an opportunity for them for globally for countries to halt it and say, hold on, we need to really think about things here as to how we move forward because no country is
Okay,
going to be able to. And again,
okay,
America has
okay,
over
okay.
$30 trillion.
Which
Without getting into hold on now, without getting into the too much of the nuances of debt ceiling and stuff over there. And I mean, they will end up in an incredibly precarious situation. Although America, interestingly, is a less I don't know how AI will be integrated, but is a less automation culture because of the immigrant type entrepreneurial spirit that they have. But I don't think that will extend to AI. I think AI will very quickly take over a lot of businesses and take a lot of those kind of jobs out, which is going to make large parts of America absolute hellholes because you're going to have people who where there is no longer. It's not even at the bottom rung of the ladder, money wise, isn't there? It's the bottom half of that ladder doesn't exist anymore because those jobs will all be artificial intelligence. And it's the same with McDonald's. They have no, if they've already got a couple of restaurants where there's no staff. It's all done automatic. It's automated, and there's artificial intelligence embedded, I think, within there as well. So they do everything from the cooking to the serving without any staff. And I'm not saying just some jobs go defunct. That's what happens as we progress. But this feels different. This feels uh, like this progression could be really dangerous.
No, it is, and here's why. AI isn't. I don't have a problem with AI. So AI as an entity itself, right, as a thing itself, I think could be very easily controlled, so it wouldn't be dangerous. That's not the problem. The problem is the people who are going to be using it, like anything else. And
Yeah,
we can see that with technology. Any already before AI, we already had technology being used against us. Okay, whether it was by governments, by corporations, whatever it is.
yeah.
So, and now you're going to have AI because here's what I am. This is just a very simple thing. Can you hear that dog barking in the background?
It's fine. I think it adds to the ambience of what we're
That's
talking about.
okay because
That dog will
because
be replaced by artificial intelligence, so it's fine.
so well, I lost my thought there because I just muted so I could shout at that goddamn bloody dog. Now, so here's what I imagine, right? That we get AI, and it's only a couple of years from now, where it's like way, 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 way more intelligent. And you're because we say, oh well, these jobs and these things they won't be replaced by AI. Okay, then you just have somebody sitting there, and we'll ask AI, how do I get rid of that job? How do I get that job done without having staff or reducing the staff? Because that's all companies will have to do. That's how I see it. And I know you that might sound a bit tinfoily and scary, but if I was in charge of companies, that's what I'd be doing. That's what I'd be asking AI.
Well,
If I have a
certainly,
problem, what am I going to ask? And if I'm a government, I'm going to be asking, especially when someone, let's say, like Mr. Trudeau, okay, future fucking dictator of Canada, okay, this is not like this will happen because it's always happened. And now what we're doing, we have invented basically a machine for people in charge to ask it, how do I stay in control? How do I stay in charge? Doesn't matter what it is. Because whatever you might have chat GPT, right? But whatever you and I have, or what you and I will be able to actually access, do you think it's going to be at the same level as
no.
as our governments
No.
and our large corporations and people
Not
that
even
have
governments,
more
man. It's
fucking
private.
money than some countries? No.
Not even governments. It's private companies.
Yes.
That's what
Yeah.
we're moving into a real corporatarian era, and it's a real concern. I mean, Elon Musk and others have talked about taxing these companies at 98%, and so that because they're basically saying it's coming. These job losses are going to happen, and we need to prepare for it.
Right. So if I'm a government, if I'm a company and the government is going to go, or let's tax them 98%, corporation's just going to go, okay, 1 second, back in a sec, I'm going to go over and ask AI, okay, how do I get out of paying 98% tax? Right. That's what I know.
They'll move to another country. That's the
That,
thing. They'll move
and
to another
yes,
country
they
that
will.
offers it.
And can we think how many countries? It's basically every country outside of Western society.
You would need Western countries to be brave enough to stand up together and say no. And any company that wants to move outside of the controls that we're putting in, you won't be able to access our markets. But they won't do it. No one has the balls to
No,
do that. But it's I don't know, man. As I said, I'm torn between whether it's our social Armageddon that's coming, or if maybe it's been a bit overblown. But it's a concern because it's you should listen to the podcast he was on, Mo Goddard, because he's very rational, but he's very honest. He was like he was talking about if you have an AI that reaches like an incredible level of intelligence, the only way to stop a bad AI at that level is to create a good one at that level. I mean, that's just I can't even wrap my head around it. And like
Dude,
these are not
that's
like
right.
these are not batshit crazy people, conspiracy theorists.
Hold
This
on,
is a guy
hold
who
on,
like was at the center of this.
hold on, hold on, hold on. That sounds like a very familiar movie plot that in,
Yes.
that involved time travel, right?
Dun, 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 dun,
the,
dun,
the,
dun, 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 dun. But no, like he was saying that he doesn't see that happening. It's not that they'll become soldiers and stuff. It's beyond that. He's like it's beyond that. He like we need to see how it is in the next few years, I think. But my place will definitely take on elements of AI, and then they'll realize that they've got reams of people doing jobs, and they don't need them to do them anymore. And eventually, what I do is a little different. It's a bit more strategic, but eventually, like we can't have a situation where eventually everyone's jobs are gone. Because what does money become then? Like that universal basic income shit is like it doesn't work. The clue's in the title. It's basic. Unless government owns the vast majority of housing, which we don't want, how are people going to live? How are they
no,
going to be able to afford to live?
no, no.
It's not possible.
Will all be on apart from a certain percent of people. It'll be the rich, and there might still be some necessary jobs, especially I imagine in security. Okay, until they actually do make
Yeah,
Terminator machines, which they fucking will eventually. AI will figure that out because humans are figuring it out as we're getting closer and closer. You know, I'm. We don't give it enough time, and engineers would have done it anyway, and now they're going to have AI.
yeah,
So of course they are. But universal basic income, yeah, I mean, I was waiting. If you hadn't said it, I was going to say it. But universal basic income is basically social welfare. Like that's
yes,
and what social welfare is not what it's supposed to be. What it's become for a lot of people is a dependence on the government. Now, you mix the society, or 90% of a society being dependent on the government, and then at the same time cash is being removed out of society, you're fucked. So I
yeah.
think it's going to be a combination of George Orwell's 1984. Um, shit, what's the other one? Where they the opposite? Oh,
Was it Porky's?
no. What's
Go back to blue movies.
what's the
I
better
like the title.
a better world, right? Where one is Big Brother and the other is giving you everything that you want, right? And then you
Yeah,
just become lazy and fat, and we have the Apple thing, and it's fucking the evidence is everywhere of where we're going, and nobody is stopping it because, as you said, there's no one at the front. There's no one steering it. It's just
there's no one like the Wizard
chaos.
of Oz. Like behind the curtain is not this grand. It's just a man. Like it's there's that's the worry. And again, like they're talking about, a lot of legal research jobs will go first. And all that I don't know how it's going to work. And again, a lot of businesses aren't tooled up for it. So a lot of small businesses probably still won't be doing stuff like that. But I'm not a conspiracy theorist about, we move to those kind of self checkout supermarkets where you kind of scan in, scan out, and you just do your shopping. I'm not against those so long as cash is still in society and people can still shop in normal places. Progress can be really good. But, a lot of that stuff is there's nothing new under the sun, as I always say. It's just new ways to pay for stuff, new ways to get stuff. But this AI is something very different. Like it's beyond the invention of the combustion engine and motor cars, and it's beyond
Is
that kind of revolution from what they're saying, but exponentially beyond it, where it may not be a positive for. And listen, maybe I'm wrong. maybe they'll come up with a solution for climate change. But when one of those bots was asked to do it, they talked about taking like such amount of oxygen out of the ocean, which would solve the issue, but it would kill all humans in the process. So you obviously got to be very careful how you ask it. It's like, but we want to survive. I don't, I get very wary of this stuff. This kind of, it was a conspiracy theory 10, 15 years ago to say that people would end up with microchips in their arms. And now it's happening and it's coming in.
And
And
Al,
social credit scores,
but,
all this stuff
but
starts off
Al,
as
but Al,
conspiracy.
the chip,
And then it
Al,
comes in.
but you got to give, right? And we've only got a couple minutes left, but you got to give these fuckers in control, right? In charge of these corporations and stuff. You got to give them credit, right? With the chips. People, they're not making people, like they're not putting a gun to their head, putting chips in them.
No.
People are fucking doing it. They're going and asking and paying for it. And I'm going, you're a fucking idiot. Because there used to be the argument years ago about which movie, is the world, which dystopian future is the world going to end up as. Now, I said the first movie I saw when I was 12 that changed everything was Escape from New York. I think that could still happen. And we'll discuss that movie some other day because that idea is not necessarily the worst idea I've ever heard. But the second film I saw was Rollerball with James Caan. And I used to think that we're either going to end up like Mad Max or Rollerball. I think we're going to end up with both in different areas of the world. It'd be like nearly like 2000 AD and Judge Dredd Mega City 1, right? I think we're going to end up with Rollerball maybe in Northern Hemisphere and Mad Max in the rest of the world. Like, and I don't think there's anything we can do.
I think it's very difficult to see. I think we just have to go with the flow and try and do the best that we can.
Yeah, I agree.
And live your life, right? It's also not living life in fear, right? That's the other thing that we talked about before. That's really, really important that we don't, live life in some kind of fear.
Yeah. And we can talk because we've only a couple of minutes left, but I think you're right. That's a great way to finish, is that we need to stop living in fear. And that is what's being spread across the world at the moment is fear. I think we can have scary conversations and have scary thoughts like we just did there for 30 minutes. And yes, a bit of a rant and a bit of we're fucked. But on the other hand, I agree totally to any positive solution. We need to not live in fear. I like that. I like that message.
Yeah. Yeah, until they come for us, you just got to continue.
Yeah, until they get to. I was gonna say, Pastor Al finishes with a nice message, and then goes, "Until they come for us."
Until they come for you, yeah, then you're screwed. But it's true. Like you talk about stuff like this and get whipped up into a frenzy, but ultimately,
as I did,
we've survived other big things that have come into the world and wars and everything else. So
yeah,
you hope that humanity will adapt and overcome on this one. And that's if it ends up being a negative. There is the chance that it ends up being like a net positive. I'm just not
no.
that. Yeah.
Sorry, Al. I'm not that positive. Look, we have to go. We have a couple of seconds left here just to say goodbye. Yeah, we're back. We're back. We weren't well, but we're back now. And yeah, Scotch in the balcony. Like, share, get in contact, and stay safe.
Cheers, guys.
And as Al said, try not to be afraid.
Yeah, sorry for freaking people out.
Talk to us all later now. Stay safe.